Under a Utah canyon, the first crystal woke before sunrise. No one on the road heard it. The canyon kept its old silence. Red stone held the dark. Cottonwood roots searched dry sand. Cold air settled between walls that had learned patience from water, wind, and time. Beneath all of it, 9 giant crystals answered one another. 3 held the first tone, 6 carried it outward, 9 made the circle whole. 3, 6, 9. Nikola Tesla had once chased the same numbers through lightning, machines, and the patterns of life. He had not been wrong to notice them. The crystals had not been asleep, not exactly. Waiting was not sleep. For more than 12,000 years, they had held their shape below hidden marks in the canyon floor. The pale circles above were only markers. The crystals below were the work. Their makers had left them there before the last age closed. Pleiadian hands had set them into the earth with a promise. The promise was simple. When humanity reached the edge of the earth split, help would not come only from the sky. It would rise through human beings who could choose coherence while still wearing human lives. At dawn, the first crystal sent a line of blue-white pressure through stone, root, and field. A calling. It did not call using words. It searched for 9 people matching a pattern. Not the best, not the purest, not the most spiritual. People who could feel what was wrong in different ways and refused to look away. Anka Riedel disliked errors that arrived with confidence. She had built a career around that dislike. At 40 minutes past 7 in Berlin, she sat alone in the conservation office of a museum that trusted her because she checked everything. The archive file on her screen should have been ordinary: photographs, measurements, provenance notes. Instead, the first photograph showed 9 pale marks in a narrow red canyon. Anka stopped moving. The marks formed a broken circle on a shelf of pale sand. Behind them, tilted rock layers rose in sharp bands of red and white. The file information listed a location in southern Utah, near Cottonwood Canyon Road. That made no sense. This was supposed to be a European collection file. No Utah photograph belonged in it. Anka checked the file history first. She checked the photograph next. The shadows matched morning light in a desert canyon. She checked the map coordinates last. Cottonwood Canyon Road, north of Kanab. A real place. At 8:22, her assistant Lena came in carrying a folder and the expression of someone approaching a machine already running too hot. "You are early," Lena said. "The file is contaminated." "Good morning to you too." Then, as Anka watched, the Utah location line vanished from the file information. Anka had not touched the keyboard, the file had not refreshed, no warning box appeared. One moment the coordinates were there, the next moment they were gone. In their place appeared 9 small marks arranged in a circle. Anka took both hands off the desk. A corrupted file could be explained. A misplaced photo could be explained. A live change on a sealed archive file was a different problem. By noon, Anka had pulled satellite views, archive registries, theft reports, archaeological databases, and 3 private survey maps she was not supposed to have access to without a formal request. The canyon existed. The road existed. The visible structure did not. That was the part she could not leave alone. The image showed 9 marks. Every map showed empty canyon. Either every public source was wrong, or the photograph showed something hidden from ordinary records. She looked at her passport. June 18th, 39. Her birthday was a week away, and she had spent most of her life keeping falsehood from entering the record. Now a false record had opened a door to something, but what? She stood. "Cancel my appointments," she said. Lena's mouth opened. Why? Anka put the passport into her bag. Because the file shows a real place in Utah, and every record says nothing is there. 20 hours later, Anka stood at the rental counter in Salt Lake City while a young man tried to sell her an upgrade. "I want the vehicle listed in the reservation," she said. "Roads can get rough down there." Then the reservation should have said so. He blinked. Anka took the keys, stepped into the dry Utah light, and headed south. In the Accra clinic, IC Mensah noticed need before people named it. That made her useful. It also made her bad at stopping. On the morning the call reached her, she had one hand on a patient's wrist and the other reaching for a blood pressure cuff. For 1 second, IC felt 9 heartbeats in one wrist. She held still. There was only one patient in the chair. The pulse settled back into one rhythm. "Nurse," the woman asked. "I am going to ask Amma to sit with you for a moment," IC said. "Is something wrong?" "No," IC said. She stepped into the supply room. On the middle shelf, 9 rolls of gauze sat in a rough circle. Gauze rolls did not arrange themselves. "9 again," she said. Her phone buzzed. Amma had sent a message from the front desk. "June 18th is 6 days away. Let someone take care of you for once." IC read it twice. She was 39, 6 days from her birthday, and still being told to rest. In the waiting area, a patient knocked over a stack of old travel pamphlets from the charity shelf. IC bent to gather them. The first pamphlet showed a red canyon in southern Utah. Across the cover were 9 pale marks on desert sand. This time the pattern was on paper from a country she had never visited. The title named a scenic route near Cottonwood Canyon Road, north of Kanab. IC felt the 9 heartbeats again under her palm, though this time she was touching only paper. Someone needed help in Utah. Leaving the clinic felt wrong because the clinic always needed her. But the pattern had reached her through a patient's pulse, a circle of gauze, and a map she could hold. Amma came from behind the desk. "You are pale." "I need to use some of my vacation time," IC said. "Something is calling me to Utah." Amma stared at her long enough for IC to regret saying it aloud. Then Amma looked at the pamphlet in IC hand and did not laugh. "Then you had better not go alone," Amma said. "I am not sure I have a choice." By evening, IC had handed off patient notes and packed medical supplies in her carry-on because she did not know how to go toward need empty-handed. At Katoka Airport, Amma called while IC stood near the gate. "Tell me you did not pack half the clinic." "Only the useful half." "IC." "I have to go," she said. "Where?" IC looked at the ticket in her hand. "Accra to New York to Salt Lake City, then south toward the Red Canyon on the pamphlet." "Utah," IC said. "I think the people who need me are there." Mateo Arriaga liked problems that could be turned into schedules. That was why customers hired him. A clinic needed backup power. Mateo listened, measured, priced the work, and made the messy parts look clean. On the morning the call reached him in Monterey, he was finishing a microgrid proposal for a rural medical site. The deadline was noon. Mateo wanted the job to look like something only he could make possible. His project dashboard held 6 open jobs. Then he noticed a 7th. Utah alignment window. The item sat in his imported calendar feed. It had no organizer, no meeting link, and a location field that read Cottonwood Canyon Road, north of Kanab. The import log pointed to a blank email attachment sent at 3:39 in the morning. Its subject line was a route: Monterey to Salt Lake City to Kanab, and Kanab to Cottonwood Canyon Road. "No," Mateo said, "I am not taking mysterious unpaid work." He opened the attachment in a text viewer. It was not blank there. "Rent a vehicle, bring field tools, arrive before sunset on June 17th. That made it worse. If the message had been dramatic, Mateo could have laughed at it. Instead, it looked like bad project intake. No client, no budget, no scope, but enough details to make him start solving it. June 18th was already blocked on his calendar with a private reminder. Age 39 review, public goals post. The Utah appointment sat directly on top of it. His phone rang. It was Valeria, his operations manager. "Please tell me the medical site proposal is done," she said. "Almost." While Valeria waited, Mateo searched Cottonwood Canyon Road. Photos loaded of red cliffs, pale dirt roads, and canyons cut through southern Utah. Then he searched the unknown email address. Nothing useful came up, but the numbers in the address caught his eye. 0618 39 17. His birthday, his age, and the date the message wanted him there. Mateo did not like patterns that used his own numbers against him. "Absolutely not," he said. "Are you talking to me?" Valeria asked. "No. That is usually worse." Mateo opened the proposal file. The numbers no longer held his attention. He closed the proposal and opened flight options. "Where are you going?" Valeria asked. "Utah." "For a client." "I am not sure yet." "Then why are you going?" "Because the same pattern keeps showing up in things I can check." By late afternoon, Mateo had sent the proposal, booked the fastest route he could afford, and packed field tools in his carry-on. At the airport, his phone reminded him of the birthday post scheduled for June 18th. He deleted the reminder. For once, he did not need the day to look impressive. He needed to arrive on time. Yael Navan trusted recordings more than memory. Memory changed when people needed it to hurt less. On the morning the call reached her in Haifa, she was alone in her workroom with headphones over her dark curls and a field recorder beside her. She was editing an installation piece from an old stairwell near the port. Footsteps, concrete echo, traffic beyond the door. Then a wind moved through the recording. Yael stopped the playback. There had been no wind in the stairwell. The air had been still and heavy. She played the section again. The wind was still there. It did not sound like street noise or microphone rub. It sounded like open desert air crossing stone. Under it was a low tone that made Yael's throat tighten before she knew why. She took the headphones off. Her window was closed. "Be technical first," she said. She opened the waveform. The wind was visible as a broad wash through the file. The low tone appeared in 9 clear pulses. Yael zoomed in until the pulses filled the screen. They were too even to be accidental. Her phone lit beside the recorder. It was a message from her brother, Oren. "Mama wants to know if you are coming for dinner next week, June 18th. Birthday people are supposed to answer messages." Yael looked from the message to the waveform. 9 pulses, June 18th, 39 this year. The pattern lined up too quickly, canyon. That was the word she kept avoiding. Yael knew how easily grief could pretend to be meaning. She knew how lonely people could turn coincidence into a private religion. So she tested the file again. The wind was in the original recorder card and the backup. Then she checked the recorder's location log. It should have shown Haifa. Instead, the corrupted field held 2 readable words. Cottonwood Canyon. Yael sat very still. This was no longer only a feeling. She searched Cottonwood Canyon Road. One photo stopped her. Red Canyon, pale sand, 9 faint circles. Yael played the tone again. This time it felt less like a sound and more like an old feeling being given a shape. Yael called Oren, where, Utah. "Are you all right?" Yael looked at the red canyon on her screen. "I heard something there before I knew where there was." Oren did not laugh. That helped. By evening, Yael had booked a flight from Tel Aviv to New York, then Salt Lake City. She packed headphones, the recorder, and the small microphone she trusted most. At the airport, she played the file one more time. The wind crossed stone, and the 9 pulses followed. The sound was asking her to witness it before she tried to explain it. Dr. Isamu Kuroda preferred data that did not need him. A good reading stayed true whether he was tired, hopeful, or annoyed. On the morning the call reached him in Kyoto, Isamu was reviewing a public satellite magnetics dataset during a sabbatical. The university had given him space, but it had not removed his habit of checking numbers that bothered him. The anomaly sat in southern Utah. At first, Isamu assumed it was a processing artifact. The display showed a small pattern near Cottonwood Canyon Road, clean enough to look artificial and faint enough to ignore. He did not ignore it. He opened the raw file, checked the coordinate projection, and compared the same area against an older survey. The pattern remained. The older map showed nothing unusual. It had 9 points arranged around a quiet center. The ground did not answer shapes. Instruments measured fields. People made metaphors when they were tired. He logged into a second database. The security page asked him to confirm his identity. The confirmation page showed his name, his June 18th birth date, and his age, 39. The 9-point pattern was not about him. Data did not care about birthdays. He downloaded the older regional file. It did not show the anomaly. It showed a gap in coverage exactly where the 9-point pattern now appeared. By noon, 4 datasets pointed his attention to the same empty canyon, north of Kanab. His sister called while he was still looking at the map. "Are you coming to dinner next week?" Emmy asked. "I have not decided." "It is your birthday." "I know." "You found something," she said. "Possibly nothing." After the call, Isamu searched Cottonwood Canyon Road, 9 light marks, and magnetic anomaly. The useful result was a cached travel forum post from 3 years earlier. Someone had photographed a dry wash near the coxcomb and complained that their compass spun there. Isamu saved the page. He had enough to stay interested and not enough to stay home. By evening, he booked a flight to Salt Lake City and reserved the smallest rental car that could survive a dirt road if driven carefully. He packed a magnetometer, a field notebook, paper maps, and a camera with no cloud backup. He still had not told anyone where he was going. Observation felt safer when no one else could ask for a conclusion. He called Emmy back. "I will miss dinner," he said. "For work?" "For a field check." "Where?" "Utah." "Send me the route," Emmy said. Isamu almost said that was unnecessary. Then he sent it. When he closed the suitcase, the 9-point map was in the front pocket where he could reach it quickly. Claire Kessner trusted warnings more than comfort. Warnings gave people time to call for help. That habit served her as a search and rescue dispatcher in Minneapolis. On the morning the call reached her, she was reviewing a training export from the emergency mapping system. The file was supposed to be boring, but one cluster did not belong. 9 location pings in southern Utah near Cottonwood Canyon Road. The timestamp was 6:18 that morning. June 18th was her birthday, 6 days away. She kept checking. Each ping had a device tag, but no phone number, caller name, or agency note. They sat around a canyon that did not appear in the system's usual place name layer. She copied the coordinates into a public map. The map showed rough country north of Kanab. "Of course," Claire said. Her brother texted about birthday dinner. Claire looked from the message to the map export. 6:18, 9 pings, 6 days before June 18th. She almost closed the file. Fear could make a map out of anything if she let it. But the coordinates and road were real. The pings survived a second workstation check. Public incident logs near Kanab showed no active rescue or missing hiker report. That should have reassured her. It did not. A false alarm wasted time. An ignored real alarm got people hurt. Her supervisor, Dale, walked past with a coffee mug and stopped when he saw her face. "What did the map do?" he asked. 9 Utah pings and a training export, Claire said. No case attached. She would not trigger an official chain on a pattern she could not explain, but she would not ignore it either. By lunch, she had printed the coordinates, saved screenshots, and checked flights. 39 is old enough to know better than chasing a map glitch across state lines, Claire said. Then she booked the ticket anyway. Before leaving work, she told Dale enough to keep the thread alive. "I am taking personal time." For Utah, yes. That evening, Claire packed as if the map might be right and her fear might be wrong. She brought first aid, satellite messenger, paper maps, and water. The printed 9-ping map went into the front pocket of her bag. When her flight began boarding, she sent Dale one more message. "If I do not check in by tomorrow night, start with the coordinates." He answered before she reached the gate. That is not comforting. Claire put the phone away. "It was not supposed to be," she said, and boarded the plane. Nikhil Rao trusted motion more than plans. Plans were useful until they became cages. On the morning the call reached him in Bengaluru, Nikhil was editing a motorcycle repair video he had promised to post 2 days earlier. The video was supposed to be about a fuel pump failure. Somehow, he had turned it into advice about taking the wrong road on purpose. His travel feed sat open beside the edit window. The first post showed a dirt road between red cliffs in the American desert, captioned Cottonwood Canyon Road. A second post showed a dusty motorcycle under tilted red and white rock near Kanab. Then he opened his creator inbox. The top message was from an Arizona follower. "You ever ride Cottonwood Canyon Road? Feels like your kind of bad idea." The message had been sent at 6:18. Nikhil looked at the date in the corner of his screen. June 18th was 6 days away. 39 was close enough to 40 that his family had started making jokes. He opened his route planner and typed Cottonwood Canyon Road. The planner drew a line from Salt Lake City to Kanab, then into a pale road through empty country. "So naturally, I want to go," Nikhil said. People sent him roads all the time, but this did not feel like content. It felt like a road had reached across the world and tapped his shoulder. His sister Mira called before he could pretend he was still editing. "Did you post the fuel pump video?" she asked. "Not yet." "What are you booking?" Mira asked. "Maybe nothing." That is never nothing. There is a road in America that keeps showing up. You are not flying across the planet because of a road. I have done worse for less. That is not a defense. It feels like if I do not go now, I will spend the next year pretending I was too busy. "Is this about your birthday?" she asked. Maybe I should find out whether this one is actually irrational." "Send me the route," Mira said. By afternoon, Nikhil had sent her the route and booked the cheapest flight he could survive. He could not bring his motorcycle across the ocean on 6 days' notice, so he reserved a used dual sport bike near Salt Lake City. At the airport, he recorded a short clip for his private folder, not for the channel. "This is either the best mistake of 39 or the dumbest thing I have done since Tuesday," he said. He watched it once and did not post it. This time, the road felt more important before anyone watched him take it. For once, the story could wait until he knew what story he was in. Rangi T. Aho knew the sound of people trying to make theft polite. They called it access or partnership when they wanted the public to clap while someone put a fence around something older than paperwork. On the morning the call reached him in Rotorua, Rangi was on a strategy call about a development proposal near ancestral land. The call was almost over when Aroha, one of the younger organizers, forwarded a document into the chat. "Wrong country," she said, "but look at the language." Rangi opened it. The document was a leaked acquisition memo from a private American consortium. Most of it was ordinary corporate fog: land access, mineral review, tourism potential, and controlled disclosure near Cottonwood Canyon Road in southern Utah. Then one sentence caught him: "Secure ownership position before public attention reaches the site." The memo included a map image: a red canyon north of Kanab, a rough boundary around empty land, and 9 marked points inside it. Rangi felt his jaw tighten. The points were not his land, they were not his people's sacred ground, but the shape of the theft was familiar. His cousin Hemi spoke through the call. "Rangi, I am trying not to say the first thing I think." Rangi closed the memo and opened the metadata. The file had been saved at 6:18 a.m. Mountain Time. The project folder name included June 18 and the number 39. His birthday was 6 days away, and he was turning 39. Then his whole body answered before he had words. Do not let them own the site. It was not a voice from nowhere. It was what every part of him had already said before language caught up. "Send me the full file," Rangi said. "Why?" Aroha asked. "Because whoever wrote this knows it matters. It is America. Sacred ground does not become harmless because it is far away." Hemi leaned closer to his camera. You are not thinking of going. I am thinking of checking. That is your word for going. Rangi did not deny it. He searched Cottonwood Canyon Road while the others argued. Photos showed red cliffs, pale dirt roads, and folded rock country. He did not know what the 9 points were, but someone was trying to own the place before anyone else knew it mattered. By afternoon, Rangi had called an American contact who knew public access law in the Southwest and booked a flight. Rangi packed light: passport, boots, field clothes, phone battery, printed memo, and printed map. He left behind anything that made the trip look like a fight. He was going because somebody else might have started one already. At the airport, he reread the memo one more time. This time the anger came clean, without heat. Clean anger gave him a boundary. Rangi folded the memo and put it in his jacket pocket. No, he said quietly. Then he boarded the plane. Tomaz Yazzie had learned to hear what people meant before they said it. He was Navajo, born near Flagstaff. That was not magic to him. People spoke with their shoulders, their pauses, and the sentence they kept avoiding. Tomaz helped families, councils, and neighbors speak without breaking the room. Sometimes the listening went deeper than he could explain. He did not advertise that. If a dream warned him to call someone and the call helped, he called. Tomaz trusted the quiet channel, but he did not use it to make himself important. On the morning the call reached him, he was sitting between two brothers in a small community office while they argued about their father's tools. Tomaz listened until the room softened enough for truth. You are both afraid that choosing who gets what will make your father more gone, he said. The brothers stopped. That was when Tomaz felt the same pressure he had felt in the dream. It was not a word yet. It was a low, steady pressure that made him think of stone. Take a breath, Tomaz said, both of you. They did. For one moment, the office faded around the edges. Tomaz saw a red canyon, 8 strangers standing apart, and an empty pale circle in the center. Then he was back in the office. Tomaz finished the meeting without mentioning the canyon. When he was alone, he opened his notebook and wrote the same 3 details again. 8 strangers, 1 empty center, red canyon. The dream had come 3 nights in a row. Each time, the 8 strangers argued around the silent center. Tomaz never saw their faces clearly, but he knew there should have been 9 people. The missing one was him. That was the part he kept refusing. His phone buzzed. His sister Lena had texted about birthday dinner. June 18th was 2 days away. 39 was a strange age to keep pretending his life belonged only to other people's problems. Tomaz read the message and set the phone face down. Lena was not wrong. Sometimes Tomaz helped other people choose so he could avoid choosing for himself. The office door opened. Marisol, who ran the front desk, sent in a truck driver from Utah. The man carried a folded road atlas. I was driving through Page last week, the man said. Then I took a wrong turn in a dream. Tomaz went still. The man opened the atlas to southern Utah. A pen mark circled a stretch of country near Cottonwood Canyon Road. I woke up with this road in my head, the man said. I just felt like you would know what to do with it. Tomaz looked at the mark. This was not only dream language now. The road was on paper, brought by someone who did not know about Tomaz's notebook. May I copy this? Tomaz asked. Sure. The center circle rose in Tomaz's mind, and this time the silence inside it felt patient, not empty. I think it may, Tomaz said. After the man left, Tomaz searched Cottonwood Canyon Road. The images matched enough of the dream to remove comfort: red rock, pale road, and canyons cut through open country. Tomaz closed the browser and sat without moving. The easy choice was to wait. Waiting was his oldest habit. If he waited, perhaps someone else would take the center. The quiet pressure returned. This time it formed words inside the listening place he had trusted for years. Come as yourself. Tomaz breathed out slowly. He understood then why the dream had not changed. He had been waiting for permission to avoid his own place. As himself, he would help 8 strangers hear one another without disappearing. Tomas picked up the phone and called Lena. "I need to miss dinner," he said when she answered. "Of course you do. This is different. You always say that when somebody needs you. This time I think I am one of the people needing." "Where are you going?" she asked. "Utah, near Kanab. I will send the route." By afternoon, Tomas had packed water, food, a paper map, and the old turquoise ring his grandfather had given him when Tomas first began mediating for family meetings. The ring reminded him to listen before speaking, and to speak when silence became avoidance. Tomas locked the door. In the truck, he sent Lena the route. Then he turned north toward Utah, carrying the first clear sense that the silent center had never been empty. By late afternoon on June 17th, Cottonwood Canyon Road had become a filter. Every traveler had to decide whether the pull was worth dust, heat, weak cell service, and a road that punished arrogance. Tomas reached Kanab first because Flagstaff was close enough to make driving honest. He bought water, fuel, and a paper map, then drove north before he could talk himself into waiting in town. The first person he met was Claire. She had parked beside a Bureau of Land Management sign and was checking the sky, the road, and the tires of her rental SUV. Her hand moved near her satellite messenger before Tomas had opened his door. "Are you meeting someone out here?" she asked. "I think so." "That is not an answer." "Cottonwood Canyon Road." Her eyes sharpened. Before she could answer, a white rental car came down the road too slowly to belong to anyone local. Anka stepped out with a folded printout and the expression of a woman prepared to correct the desert if the desert had filed something improperly. "This road is marked as suitable for passenger vehicles," Anka said. Claire looked at the low clearance. The rental company lied. Anka looked at Tomas. "Are you also here because of the 9 marks?" Claire went still. That was the first click, not a sound, the feeling of 2 pieces fitting. Mateo arrived next in a rented truck, with a tool bag over one shoulder. "If anyone here is the client, now would be an excellent time to identify yourself," he said. No one did. "Of course," Mateo said. A rideshare driver from Page dropped off IC 10 minutes later. She thanked him twice, adjusted the medical bag at her shoulder, and looked at the group as if she were already counting who had eaten and who would pretend not to need help. "Does anyone here need water?" she asked. "We have water," Claire said. IC opened her bag anyway. The dusty motorcycle came next. Nikhil removed his helmet, looked at the strangers, and laughed once under his breath. "Either this is the strangest road meetup in history, or I am exactly where I should be." "Both can be true," Mateo said. Yael arrived in a local car, headphones around her neck and recorder in hand. She turned slowly, listening to the canyon wind. "It is the same sound," she said. No one asked what she meant. By then, everyone knew enough to leave First Truths alone until they had a place to land. Isamu arrived in the smallest rental car on the road, driving with such careful precision that Claire visibly suffered watching him clear the last rut. He parked, checked the undercarriage, and looked at the group. "There are 7 of you." "8 with you," Tomas said. Rangi came last in a rented pickup, tall and broad in the driver's seat, with a folded memo on the passenger side. He stepped out, took in the group, then looked past them toward the Red Canyon. "Someone else is coming," he said. Claire turned. "You saw a vehicle?" "No." Rangi touched the paper in his jacket, intent. That quieted them faster than a warning would have. Tomas looked at the 8 faces his dream had kept blurred. Now they were real, and each one fit the pull that had brought them. And Tomas had nearly stayed home because the center felt too much like leadership. "We should move," Claire said. She pointed west. A thin column of dust had risen far down the road behind them. It was too straight to be wind. No one argued. They left the passenger cars at the pullout and split into the higher clearance vehicles. The road narrowed. Red and white layers tilted up around them until the outside world felt less absent than dismissed. Then every compass failed at once. Claire's dashboard flickered. Isamu handheld magnetometer chirped from his bag. Yael recorder woke without her touching it. Icy put one hand flat against her chest. I feel them again, she said. Heartbeats, Tomaz asked. Yes. Ahead, the sand changed color, only enough for Anka to see the difference first. Stop, she said. The vehicle stopped, dust moved past them and settled. For one breath, the canyon was empty. Then 9 flat circles of pale light appeared under the sand. They formed a ring around a quiet center. There were no upright markers, no visible machine, and no voice telling them what to do. The place simply showed them where to stand. Behind them, the dust column drew closer. In front of them, the 9 circles waited. Tomaz stepped toward the center, then stopped. The center was not his place. 9 pale circles waited in the sand, all the same size and all the same distance from the quiet middle. No one circle was higher, brighter, or closer to command. It wants us around the center, Tomaz said. It wants, Anka asked. That is the best word I have. Claire looked back toward the road. The dust column was closer now, still hidden beyond the last bend. Then choose fast, she said. Not choose, Tomaz said. The answer arrived in his body before language caught it. Stand where it feels wrong not to stand. Anka hated that instruction. She still stepped into the circle near the north side because leaving it empty seemed to offend her sense of order. Icy moved where she could see everyone. Mateo chose the circle nearest the vehicles, where his tools were still within reach. Yael turned until the low tone in her headphones stopped wobbling, then stepped into that circle. Isamu put away his useless magnetometer and stood where the device fell silent. Claire took the place with the clearest view of the road behind them. Nikhil stood still longer than anyone expected. Then he saw the gap between Claire and Mateo and stepped into it. Fine, he said. Apparently my spiritual gift is not running away. Rangi chose the circle nearest the road, between the group and whatever was coming. One circle remained. Tomaz stepped into it. The sand warmed under his boots. 9 breaths changed at once. Icy put a hand to her chest. There they are. The heartbeats, Yael asked. Icy nodded, but not separate now. Anka looked around the ring. Equal intervals, 9 points, no hierarchy. Isamu turned slowly. A distributed array. In human words, Claire said. It works because no single point controls it. That landed harder than the glow. The pressure rose from under the sand, through Tomaz's feet, and into his bones. It did not feel like a voice yet. It felt like a room becoming quiet enough for someone truthful to speak. Yael lowered her headphones. The tone has 3 parts, low, middle, high. Nikhil looked at the ring, 3, 6, 9. Everyone turned toward him. What I can count. One by one, they said the birthdays aloud. Germany, Ghana, Mexico, Israel, Japan, Minnesota, India, New Zealand, Arizona. June 18th, 39. Nikhil's smile faded. 39, 6th month, 9 people. Anka looked as if she wanted to object and could not find a fact to use. This was designed, she said. Or invited, Tomaz said. The ring brightened. Under the sand, something large answered. It did not rise. For one impossible second, the canyon floor became transparent. Far below them, blue-white crystal faces caught the light and passed it from point to point. They were not decorations or symbols. They were buried technology, old enough to make the canyon above them feel young. Isamu dropped to one knee before he remembered to be careful. That is not natural quartz formation. No, Tomaz said. The knowing came through him, with the calm he recognized from dreams. Placed, he said, long ago. Anka looked at him sharply. By whom? The pressure under Tomaz's feet became an image. Bright human-shaped beings lowering crystal geometry into old earth before roads, borders, companies, or records. He swallowed. Pleiadians, he said. No one laughed. The dust column rounded the bend behind them. 3 vehicles stopped hard at the pullout. Doors opened. Men and women in field clothes stepped out with cases, cameras, and the practiced urgency of people who expected obedience. Rangi did not leave his circle. Claire's hand moved toward her satellite messenger. The crystals below them had woken enough to be noticed. Now the people who wanted ownership had arrived. The first woman out of the lead vehicle Warfield, clothes too clean for the road. She carried a hard case, a radio, and the calm expression of someone trained to make other people feel late to a meeting they had not agreed to attend. This area is under temporary restriction, she called. Step away from the site. Rangi looked at the open canyon around them. Restricted by who? Private Survey Authority. Anka had turned. That is not a public land category. The woman's calm slipped for half a second. That was enough for Rangi. You knew the site was here before it appeared, he said. This is not about safety. 2 men opened equipment cases behind her. One lifted a dark scanner from foam padding and aimed it toward the ring. Mateo saw the build before the purpose. That is not a safety meter. Isamu watched the scanner's sensor head swing toward the sand. It is looking for field structure. You are interfering with an active survey, the woman said. No, Anka said. We are standing on public land while you invent authority. The man with the scanner powered it on. The device gave one sharp tone, then went silent. He frowned and checked the cable. Battery, Mateo asked. Full, the man said before remembering he was not supposed to answer. The woman touched her radio. Team 2, confirm uplink. Static answered. The 9 stood in the pale circles, while the arriving team began to look less like authority and more like people whose script had lost its next page. Tomaz felt the crystals under the sand. They were not pushing, they were not defending. They were simply present with a steadiness that made false things work harder to remain false. The woman looked at Tomaz. Who is in charge here? No one answered. That bothered her more than a name would have. This site contains sensitive material, she said. If you leave now, there does not need to be a problem. IC stepped forward only enough for her circle to brighten. There already is a problem. Then do not make it worse. You came prepared to take something. The younger man near the second vehicle looked down at the scanner in his hands. He had stopped trying to fix it. Claire saw his fear first, and it was not fear of the 9. What did they tell you this place was? She asked him. The woman snapped, do not answer that. He swallowed, an archaeological hazard. Rangi gave a low laugh. A polished way to say sacred ground you wanted fenced before anyone knew. You have no standing here, the woman said. The ring brightened. Rangi did not raise his voice, neither do you. The words moved through the canyon without echo. For a moment, every sound became precise. Dust against tires, Yael recorder running, IC breathing beside Mateo. Then the younger man set the scanner case on the ground and stepped away from it. I am not doing this. The woman stared at him. Pick that up. No, this is wrong. Mateo looked toward their vehicles. You may want to check your engines. The first SUV clicked but did not start. The second did the same. The third started, coughed, and died. Nikhil looked at Tomaz. Is the canyon doing that? Tomaz listened. Below them, the crystals held one clean note. Not exactly, he said. Anka watched the leader try to keep authority on her face, while every tool, vehicle, and subordinate stopped cooperating. Your plan depends on things being separate, Anka said. Legal claim here, technical survey there. Field team following orders somewhere else. Isamu looked up from the ring. The field is not allowing separation. Tomaz felt the answer rise as a simple truth. A dark intent can move through confusion, he said. It cannot organize itself inside a field this coherent. The woman took one step toward the ring. The light did not flare, no force struck her. She simply stopped, as if the next command had vanished before it reached her mouth. For the first time, she looked tired. You do not understand what you are standing in, she said. Tomaz met her eyes. Then tell the truth. She looked at the dead scanner, the silent radios, the people no longer obeying, and the 9 strangers standing in light that belonged to no company. She said nothing. The ring under Tomaz's feet warmed again. This time the voice came clear, not through the air, but through the place in him that had been listening all his life. Tell them why. Tomaz did not want to become the voice of the canyon. He had seen people use invisible authority to make ordinary people small, so he did the only thing he trusted. He slowed down. I am hearing something, he said, not with my ears. The survey leader watched him like that sentence gave her something useful to dismiss. Tomaz looked toward the 8 people in the ring. I will say what comes. You check it against what you can actually see. Anka nodded once. Good. Yael lifted her recorder. The tone changed when you said that. Isamu stopped pretending his magnetometer was giving normal numbers. The field is stable. Then speak, Rangi said. Tomaz let the listening place open. The answer did not arrive as paragraphs. It came as simple pieces, each tied to something real in front of them. The crystals were placed here before this canyon looked the way it does now, he said. They are part of a network. Isamu's face tightened with interest. Earth grid. Yes, not a power grid like wires, a field grid, places that hold and pass frequency through Earth. The survey leader laughed once, too sharply. The radio on her belt snapped with static and died again. Tomaz continued. This site is not the full event. It is a local node waking early. Claire looked toward the stalled vehicles. Early for what? The answer came with an image of 2 Earth paths occupying the same place, until frequency made them different roads. For the split, Tomaz said, the lower Earth path and the higher Earth path. Nikhil went still, 3D and 5D. Yes, the full split is not happening here today. This place is preparing for it. Icy breathed out, how? The circle under her feet brightened first. By cleansing what is heavy in the field, Tomaz said, not judging people, not attacking anyone, clearing patterns of fear and control when the people inside them are ready to let go. The younger man from the survey team looked at the dead scanner and did not pick it up. Mateo pointed toward the vehicles. That is why their equipment is failing. Partly, the crystals are raising the local field. Plans built on control do not organize well inside it. Rangi eyes stayed on the survey leader. Dark intent cannot hold shape here. Not while the field is active. The leader said, that is nonsense. The hazard lights on her vehicle stopped blinking, then began again out of rhythm. Nikhil looked at them. The SUV has notes. Icy almost laughed. Tomaz felt the next piece arrive. The crystals also amplify human abilities, he said. Not tricks, what is already in people but usually quiet. He looked around the ring. Discernment, healing presence, pattern recognition, threat sense, sound, heart coherence, remote sensing, the ability to affect a field by holding truth. Each circle answered the person standing in it. No explanation was needed. The opposing team had stopped moving. Not frozen, not forced. They were standing inside a truth too large for their instructions. Tomaz saw the last piece and understood why the 9 had been called separately. The node cannot be activated cleanly by one kind of person, he said. One gift alone bends into distortion. He stopped before the words became a lecture. 9 patterns, he said, 1 ring. IC looked around the circle, so none of us is the chosen one, no. Good, Mateo said, that job sounds terrible. Nikhil laughed, and the sound loosened something in the group. The crystal faces below the sand answered, with a pulse that rose through all 9 circles at once. Jarl gasped, the tone matched us. Matched how? Anka asked. Timing. Isamu looked at Tomaz. Coherence. The word came through cleanly. Human coherence, Tomaz said, that is the key. The survey leader pulled a second radio from inside her vest. Her hands were not steady. "This is unauthorized contact with a restricted asset," she said into it. "Send containment." The radio carried her voice for half a second. Then it carried Thomas' last words back at her, clear as if the canyon had spoken through the speaker. "Human coherence is the key." She dropped the radio. It hit the sand and kept repeating the phrase, softer each time. The younger man from her team stepped away from the cases. The camera operator followed him. "Where are you going?" the leader asked. "Away from the lie," the younger man said. Below the sand, something massive began to move. Not upward, outward. Mara looked at the dead radios, useless cases, and team members who no longer wanted to touch either one. Her authority had not been attacked, it had simply stopped working. She climbed onto a low shelf of rock with a satellite phone. "This is field lead," she said. "Containment failed, send external authority." Static came first, then a man's voice came through, thin and strained. "Mara, stand down." She froze. "Who is this?" "You know who this is, leave the site." "You told me this was authorized." The line went silent. That silence did what the 9 did not need to do. It broke the last shape of her plan. Mara looked at the ring one more time. The canyon gave her nothing to fight, only a choice. "Pack what still works," she said. "We are leaving." The engines started only after the cases were closed and the scanners were left behind. No one in the ring turned grace into a victory speech. The younger technician paused before getting into the last vehicle. "What do I do with what I saw?" he asked. Thomas answered as himself. "Tell the truth carefully." The vehicles drove out slowly, carrying less certainty than they had brought in. When the dust settled, the 9 circles remained bright under the sand. Nikhil pointed around the ring. "So, are we going to talk about the fact that we appear to be a personality test with legs?" Anka looked at him. "What?" 9 people, 9 roles, different patterns. He glanced at Thomas. "You said one gift alone bends into distortion." Matteo nodded slowly. "Enneagram." IC looked at him. "You know it." "A little. Business coaches love turning ancient wisdom into team-building slides." That pulled a short laugh from Nikhil. Isamu studied the circles. "The Enneagram maps 9 basic human strategies, 9 ways people try to survive, make meaning, and avoid pain." Anka gave him a narrow look. That is a surprisingly social fact for a geophysicist. "I read broadly." The crystals answered the word Enneagram with a quiet pulse, not because the symbol was the whole truth, because it was close enough for human minds to understand the design. "Say the 9 plainly," Thomas said. Isamu did. 1 is integrity, the need for what is wrong to be made right. 2 is care and service, with the danger of disappearing into other people's needs. 3 is action and making things happen, with the danger of confusing worth with success. 4 is witness, feeling what has been lost or forgotten. 5 is knowledge and pattern, with the temptation to observe instead of join. 6 is protection, warning, and finding courage without outsourcing trust. 7 is possibility and motion, with the habit of running from pain through the next open door. 8 is boundary and sovereignty, with the danger of taking over what one means to defend. 9 is unity and holding the whole, with the danger of disappearing so everyone else can stay comfortable. All eyes turned to Thomas. He accepted the looking this time. "That is why the center stayed empty," he said. 9 does not rule the circle. 9 helps the circle hear itself. The ring brightened, clean and steady. Thomas felt the star family presence again, Pleiadian but not distant. It met them through the crystals, through the earth, through the pattern the 9 had become. "The site did not need 9 perfect people," he said. "It needed 9 honest patterns." The field supplied the rest without needing a speech. Each circle carried one part of the whole. No part was enough alone. No part had to become another part to belong. Yael lifted her recorder. "The tone is braided now." "Braided how?" Claire asked. 9 lines, 1 sound. Matteo looked toward the abandoned scanner cases. and the technical side. The circles pulsed outward. Under the sand, the buried crystals answered with blue-white light that passed from point to point, then beyond the ring into the canyon walls. Tomaz felt the answer and gave it one sentence. The technical side works when the human side stops fighting itself. Nikhil stared at the canyon as the light moved under the stone. Least annoying team-building exercise ever invented. IC laughed, and everyone heard the relief in it. The node had not activated because they had beaten anyone. It had activated because 9 different human strategies had stopped defending their separateness long enough to become useful together. The light moved farther outward. The local node was awake, and it was ready to send what they had become. The light under the sand moved beyond the ring and entered the canyon walls. It traveled like a clear note through stone, then deeper, into old crystal lines under the desert. Yael heard it as sound. Isamu felt it as field order. Tomaz understood it as a signal moving from this local node into the larger Earth grid. The knowing came through Tomaz one last time, plain enough to speak without turning it into a sermon. "This is not the full shift," he said. "This is preparation. The crystals wake in places before the split so Earth can clear what no longer belongs, loosen control patterns, and help human abilities come online safely. When the greater moment comes, the planet will already know the way." Each of the 9 felt the change in the language, their own life understood. Anka felt truth become easier to recognize. Icy felt the heartbeat settle into one rhythm. Mateo saw practical steps where moments ago there had only been impossibility. Yael heard the tone inside silence. Isamu accepted that data could include the observer without becoming false. Claire felt warning become discernment instead of fear. Nikhil felt motion become commitment. Rangi felt boundary without anger. Tomaz felt peace, stop asking him to disappear. They also felt each other, not as voices in the head and not as ownership, more like knowing where a hand would be before reaching for it in the dark. The gift was not power over other people. It was responsibility to stay coherent enough that others could remember coherence was possible. The canyon slowly returned to ordinary sight. The 9 circles faded. The crystal light withdrew beneath the sand. To a careless traveler, the place would look like red stone, pale sand, and a rough road through country that punished arrogance. To the 9, it would never be empty again. Mara's team had left the dead scanners behind. Mateo and Isamu packed them so the devices could not be used badly by someone else. Anka photographed every object and every track. Claire sent Dale a safety check. Rangi put the false memo with Anka records. IC made everyone drink water before anyone tried to be profound. Nikhil recorded 10 seconds of canyon silence and did not post it. Yael saved the tone in 3 places. Tomaz sent his sister one message: "I am safe. I was needed. I was also one of the people needing." They did not know what came next. That was honest. The node had not made them masters of the shift, spokespeople for Earth, or a council with a name. It had made them witnesses to a preparation already underway. When they finally drove out, the sun was low enough to turn the canyon gold. No one led the convoy. No one followed blindly. They moved together, vehicle by vehicle, leaving the awakened node behind them and carrying its signal into the world in the only form the crystals had asked for: coherence.
If you want more read-aloud journeys in this frequency, subscribe to GFL HFY and ring the bell. New tales land here first. Galactic Federation of Light lore, star family stories, Pleiadian worlds, and quiet HFY after the shift. Integration, not combat. If this one resonated, a like helps listeners who already speak this language find the channel and tells me to keep bringing the next chapter. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next story.